Joining me now is Richard Johnson. He lectures on U.S. politics at Queen Mary University in London. Thanks so much for joining us as we try and parse what's happened now. So let's go through this state of play. Haley loses big time in her home state. This is not a great headline. Is it over for her? And if it's not, why does she stay in?
Great questions. So I think practically, if not mathematically, the Republican contest for choosing their presidential nominee is over. Since the genesis of the modern Republican primary process over 4 decades ago, no candidate has won these 3 states by such convincing margins and then not won the nomination. Now, Nikki Haley actually did a bit better than the expectations of the last couple of weeks were suggesting. People were looking at a 70-30 Trump victory over her. It ended up being 60-40. But an important caveat to that is South Carolina is an open primary state. And if we look into the exit polls among Republican voters, who are about 70% of those who voted, Trump got that 70-30 margin over Haley. So the problem then for Haley is that South Carolina should be her best state. She was the governor there. It's an open primary state. And if her ceiling is 40%, that bodes very poorly for Super Tuesday, where on the 5th of March, this contest mathematically will be either improbable or impossible for anyone else to defeat Trump. Part of that is because in the majority of Republican states, if you win over 50% of the vote, you actually win all or nearly all of the delegates. And so the question is, why is she still in? One, she has the money, and usually it's a lack of money that causes candidates to drop out or suspend their campaigns in primary contests. And the second is, it's quite possible she's in it because she actually wants to weaken Donald Trump's candidacy. And that may be for a variety of reasons. One may be that, okay, maybe she can't bring him down, but let's say he does get a criminal conviction. If she's helped to build the case internally against him, that might set things up better for someone else. Maybe it won't be her, but for someone else to make the case to replace him at the convention. I think that's very unlikely, but that may be what she thinks she needs to do if she has a problem with Trump being the next president.
Yeah, certainly in politics, many are ready for long shot scenarios, just given the 2 candidates, likely the 2 nominees, President Biden and former President Trump. Now, the argument that Haley would do better against Biden one-on-one, would likely win against Biden, that did not resonate with Republican voters. Why not?
It's pretty usual that primaries are not focused on electability. This is one of the great critiques that was made against the introduction of the modern primary process in the 70s and 80s. There's a great political science book called The Party Decides, and the argument there really is that back in the days when it was the convention that decided, the party elites would put aside ideological differences to think about who was the most electable candidate. But primary voters, individual voters, they want candidates who think like them and share the same policy concerns as them. The problem is primary voters are not representative of the general electorate. So,
yeah, and that does pose a problem, though, for the former president, given that right now, in terms of when he faces Biden, if you look at the polls right now, it really would be a toss-up with polls in the margin of error for both candidates. Can you set the record straight for us on one thing? Where once Trump's legal problems look like a drag on his campaign, for months now, they've actually boosted him. Do you expect this to continue?
Well, it shows that I think, well, the way to think about it is that I think whoever the party's nominee, the country is so polarized and partisan divisions are such that any Democratic nominee and any Republican nominee is starting with a floor of 40% of the electorate at worst. And so then So then the election is fought in the margins. And this, I think, is something that Trump needs to, Trump's campaign needs to be wary of. We see that a non-trivial proportion of Republican voters say they will have a problem with voting for Trump if he has a criminal conviction. Now, people are doubting that it's going to be a third or a quarter or a fifth, but even if it's 10%, in a closely fought contest where these margins in the swing states are really thin, that will be a serious jeopardy for him. So the criminal convictions aren't going to tank his campaign, but they could make they could cause problems for him in those crucial swing states.
Right. And I have to leave it there for now. Richard Johnson, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.